Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new podcast. This podcast is called Seeds of Life with your host, Martin Pounds, and my co host, Gabby Davis. Now, this podcast is different from any other podcast that you probably have seen on YouTube or anywhere around. We are going to focus on things that triggers us lives, health wise, some religion, maybe politics, depends, but it's all about inspiration, and allowing us to share our experiences and your experiences as well into the show. Now, the main thing we want to focus on is that we definitely need to work on and grow from. So that's why Seeds of Life will be the perfect place for you to tune in and everything. Now, a very important part of the show when we come on and we give the introduction about what the topic is about, we will start the show off with a C for life quote. And our very own Gabby Davis will enlighten y'all with a quote for the day. So, Gabby.
So today's quote is going to be from a guy named Konstantinos Dimitriadis. He's an artist mainly, but his quote was, I feel like that would be the perfect. Some of us, or most of us, even at some points have felt like we were buried or felt like we were going through some adversity. So I want to make sure that whenever something great and big, you know.
Amen. What is your seed of life?
Um, Growing through adversity would be, I mean, like whenever I go through something, I try to remember that alone, like that there's good, what is, like when you think of diamonds or anything awesome, it didn't start out that way. You got to take whatever it is that you're going through or whatever it is that's keeping you down or whatever, and make it, grow you or mold you into something better.
I agree. For myself, is I think, especially when you learn from adversity and you keep in. I think for myself to learn how to grow and to um, be a foundation within yourself or your kids or your family or your relationships, your marriage, whatever the case may see sprouts from, you know. So understanding your purpose as well.
Yeah.
So now I know, like, even though we touch where from, do you want to share? I know you was saying that you read the book. You was reading this book.
Oh gosh. Yeah. Don't want to miss anything. So I'm listening to it on Audible because that seems to be the easiest way for me to do things. Um, so I'm at a standstill in chapter 6 because he's requiring you to do some work, like some writing and stuff, and I haven't gotten that far yet. So,
Okay.
like I said, I'm reading it while I'm driving or listening to it while I'm driving. Okay, so it's called "It Didn't Start with You" by Mark Wallen. I think that's how you pronounce it. And basically, he's touching on generational trying to think about. So one of the things he talked about, which was fascinating to me, I've always been into research. I love research. I went into clinical particular book. He's talking about, I don't know how many people know about mice. Like the reason that they experiment with mice is because you can get like 3 generations of mice in 12 weeks.
Oh, wow.
So they're doing this experiment on mice where they, with the grandparents or the first litter of mice, they condition them with some kind of trauma. Like for instance, they were doing a smell and a shock at the same time, just so that every time they would either like this, that's just what they related to or whatever. So 3 generations or 2 generations later, down to they were testing the mice, never had shocked these mice, but they tested them with the smell and they had trauma from it. So like that's how the DNA, like when, for instance, when your grandmother was pregnant, she had her husband unexpected go into your DNA and it would go onto your mother. So when your mother is in your grandmother's womb, she already has you in her already too. So anyway, when you're born, then you could do like the way that you go about your life will have some kind of sense of that trauma, from your grandmother and stuff. So it's crazy like that. That's just basically, that's a snippet of what I'm going through in this book.
Wow, that's very, very, very impressive because I never knew that. I never knew the reason why they research mice. Yeah. I always thought it was just nasty.
No, it's just timing. They can get so many in just such a short amount of time. Where
right. So. And also with that being said, is that the human aspect takes on so much, where everything is so genetically transferred in our bodies. And I'm not a scientist and everything like that, but I do try to understand. Like some of my family members are alcoholics, and we experienced that through my granddad. I never met my grandmother, so I don't know on her side of our family. Yeah. But my granddad and my mom, and then my brother. But the funny thing is, me and my sister don't have that same trait. It's like we can do it, but don't have to do it.
Yep.
But they was able to continue to do it. Now, my mom stopped when she was diagnosed with cancer. So then she stopped cold turkey, but say she didn't to do that. So it was, and I share with you a little bit about, my dad and everything. So I don't know anything about my dad's side of the family either. What that he may went through as a kid and all passed it on through his kids and myself. So it's kind of unique just to figure out, the way that we act, why we do certain things. Even I look at my daughters, especially my youngest daughter, she has some trauma, from her mom's side, much more like me. It's so funny to see that. So I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
So now you talk about trauma. Now, what about generational?
For this book, there's such just in my family alone, this is all beliefs. Like, there are people who are Christian, there are people who claim growing up, and I'm the baby of 5 children. I watched all of this go on, and then, that's what brought me to this book. I was just like, I want to be this time to happy and who don't have to general. I mean, there were so many different things, religion at the stake. I mean, you got to think about that. If that was somewhere in your lineage, like we were just talking about DNA, it was passed down to you eventually, you know?
Yeah,
So to stand up and say, hey, you know, we're not going to do that. We're well-rounded individuals who want to have a happy life and long peace, you know?
exactly. I agree. I agree. It's funny because my oldest son, he asked me, he said, what things in our family that you know have us triggered? And I was like, well, I say, you know, some of us have, look at some of my family, some of us have anger, some of us have drug addiction. I say there's no perfect poison. Now, that doesn't mean you have to go down that same road, because then you do have the opportunity or choice to break that. And if you see it, like, I know for myself that I had a lot of trials and tribulations in my life. So therefore, I knew how strong my will is to overcome certain things.
Yeah.
And I'll be the one to say I get stuck in sometimes. I get prideful, but I always revert back to understanding, you know, especially through spirituality, saying God and everything and studying, and just like you kind of like take a step back. There's a lot of my family members through times of meeting people who be so unique that I could share my story with no issue and be allowed, because people don't realize that now that we into, I think, a critical point in this in our lives and in this world, to where we have to we got to be very subtle on how we approach things or how we deal with things, because everything is so triggered. It's so triggered. I know that you're studying that book and everything like that. What if you haven't finished yet, but since you've been reading, what is the one thing that you could take from that book and apply it to your life?
That's probably where I'm at right now, chapter 6. He is asking what kind of like what your son asked, what are the triggers in our family? What happened in our family? And I don't think anyone in my family has ever stopped to do, able to step outside of all of the
Yes.
so I am that's where I'm going to focus on. I think I'm going to, we were talking about pride just now. That's always everyone has pride. Everyone has a little bit of ego. You've got to be able to separate yourself from those, especially if you want some kind of resolve. So I think for a long time, I've probably put off talking to my mother. There's a lot of trauma there. There's a lot of my whole life, I felt like the best solution there was just to numb it, just to not think about it, just to push it back down and focus on something else. Well, like I said, focus on the fact that it is broken and how to fix it. So I think my next step is going to be talking to my mother, talking to my father. I haven't gotten there yet. We just got into chapter 6. I'm going to start with my mom, but she's fortunately she's got some health issues too, and I'm afraid that if I wait too much longer, she might not be coherent enough. She's dealing with some early onset stuff, so I definitely want to get to her while her mind's still conscious.
I agree. I mean, that's when my mom was diagnosed with cancer, and to Greenville, my sister and her kid's father at the time she was with. This was back in '98, and I was on my first. I didn't know if my mom was gonna live or die that moment, but she requested me to be there, and um, I ended up moving from there to here. That year, I lived in Greenville around that time to all 2006. Her cancer went in remission, but it was her having congestive heart failure that knew I was ambitious. She's very protective, and I get it and everything. But my mom was always quiet because I look at my youngest daughter. She reminds me of my mom a little bit. The quietness. She'll talk when she need to. She's a people person like I am, but she has to warm up.
Yeah.
So, and that's how my mom, she always stay quiet. But I think the day she passed, it took me into a place, they witnessed, you know, almost losing it or taking it. And I was like, no, I think I can handle it. Mm-mm. I couldn't. It took me,
Tough.
it took me almost 2 years to recover. Because the night that I was in school here in Greenville, at ACPI, I was studying computer science at the time. And I wanted to be the first to graduate out of my sisters and my brothers, which I finally did. But the night that I came to see her, because she was at my sister's house, and I told her, I said, "Are you ready to see me graduate?" And she just gave me the somber look, and I was like, my heart just knew it was not gonna be long. And then the next day, on my way to work, we got word that she passed, and I made it my strength to graduate a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't know if I was gonna make it. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know if I wanted to work anymore. I gave up school for a bit.
Yeah.
Um, and then I got into poetry, and my mom knew how much I loved to write because I used to write song lyrics before I even started writing poetry when I was young. So that was my cure.
Yeah.
That was the cure that got me through those dark days.
It's good stuff.
And and I don't think I ever really shared this on a podcast with anybody. Um, my sisters know, few friends know, but just really openly talking about it, it kind of helps. I
Yeah.
like it. And then my passed away last year. It's been a year because the day that he passed away after that, and that kind of like it still bothers me.
Yeah.
So so these are the if y'all out there listening to us talk and share your thoughts, because we know that trauma is real. Especially we all talk about the one thing that a lot of people suffer with is mental health. Mental health is really strong and it's real, and you can't take these things for like granted in your life, because if you need to talk to somebody or you need to reach out to a special friend, or it don't matter if your friend is a guy or a girl, of where men and women or dark places, reach out to somebody and talk. So Gabby, let me ask ask you this. When we met, you was giving me a ride to work in Uber. I Your energy was so profound. You was the first words you connected to me, and you was telling me stuff, and I resonate to you. It was like so. It gave me a lot to think about the day that I stepped out the car, and I was like, man, and all through the days that all through that whole day at work, and I was like, man, it's like he brings people in a friendship, relationship, business or whatever the case may be. It's like you cannot be receptive to it. And it's something that, I share some Tim Ross stuff with you, I don't know if you got a chance to listen to.
No, I have not,
Um,
unfortunately.
well, one of the things that he has talked about is about building connection, build, you know, that seem unconventional to the public eye, and that's why I think for me and you to do what we're doing now, um, openness with a lot of people that probably don't have that outlet to talk. I mean, they can see this, these episodes that we put together and be able to identify, say, oh wow, and understand a lot. So, there's anything that you want to share others besides the things that we have talked about that maybe will be beneficial for some people?
Well, I was just having this thought when you were talking about how we met, like, and then you were thinking about things for like the rest of the day. I feel like that was a seed. I wanted to go back to the whole seeds of life thing. I feel like things like that repeatedly think about it. That's a seed. That was a seed that was planted. That was something that made you go, oh, okay, there's something different here, and I don't know. It's manifested into a podcast,
Yeah.
but excuse me, but excuse me. I feel like I like the whole, you know, having times
Mhm.
and finding things like this podcast or something that you can relate to, that you can listen to or read or get involved in, that will help you plant good seeds in your life, good seeds in your mind of beginning of something like seeds. When they get planted, they have to be covered up. They have to go
Exactly.
through a period of darkness. They have to go through this. It's like a butterfly too. When they go into the cocoon, it's not beautiful yet.
I'm telling
It's
you,
going to be
yes,
ugly. There's going to be
yes,
a time of ugliness,
yes.
but or shape you into something better. That's this girl in my car said it the other day. She was going through a lot. I just kind of gave her a snippet, just a little bit of what's happened in my life, and she said, "You would never know that you've been through the things that you've been through just by looking at me so many times. Like you have no idea what someone's been through, just because like I can see anyone from a homeless person in my car to a CEO. Like you never know who you're going to meet. So I always open the conversation with, "Hey, how are you?" And just depending on how, and they're not fine.
Mhm.
I just always want my car to be one place where they never feel good,
Exactly.
where they can tell me, like, I can come back with that. We all have bad days. He tells the truth. They don't don't say I'm fine. They're like, man, it's been the worst day of my life. And then that's a seed. I say, hey, what can I do to help this person's day be a little bit better?
Agree.
You know?
Agree.
And I mean, for a long time there, I kept getting the comment, that comment, you're never tired of being strong. I'm tired of being resilient. I don't want to have to push all this down and be perfect in person or, in public or whatever. But I mean, I feel like there's so many people in the world today who just need something real,
Oh yeah.
who just need to feel something real, who just need to
Definitely.
know that there is something real out there.
Yeah, I hear that out there. She said it's okay to let you know there's something real out there.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like, I don't know what happened in society that made people feel like I guess, social media was definitely one of the things, but I feel like it's too perfect or too presentable. When I definitely that when you could be the same way.
Exactly.
All you got to do is stop trying to be what everybody.
Myself, that's where I think I'm different. I don't like to be in a category. I don't saying different things in life.
Yeah.
Whether it's right, whether it's wrong, as it and talk about it. And when you said that when people could come inside your car and be themselves, it's okay to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
It's okay because then you know that, hey, this person is not going to judge me. Even if you ride and the person breaks down and cry in your car, they be and vulnerable to the point where, oh wow, this is the main. Just like me, they could say, man, I was riding Uber today and I met this young lady and she allowed me to be myself. I was going through so much, I had to take a cry, but then that seed has been planted, like you said, and then they got that release from themselves. Like, wow, it's okay, and it is okay. Men not supposed to cry. Man, let me tell you, I might not cry in the moment, or once I sit, I get glossy and I'll be like, man.
I don't care if you're a man, woman, boy, or girl. You got to think of yourself like a teapot sometimes. Like you got to release the prayer, emotional and blah blah blah. But guess what? We feel better after we cry, even if we go crazy for about 5 minutes. Just give us 5 minutes, we'll be all right.
I mean, man, it's like it's crazy. Like working at BMW, and it's funny because I work on the line with so many guys, and it's challenging, because I get along with some of them, and so in their life outside work, sometimes they get so frustrated, angry with it. We want to learn. It'd be like you allow things. You gotta understand when you work on a job, that job is there you just did the benefit of that job. It's not you you going to work to provide safety for your household, put money and to save up money or whatever. If you not willing to create your own business, then corporation.
Right.
Corporate America, as we call it, because they control everything. They gonna control how things they doesn't make it right. No, but at the end of the day, a place where I need to go from point A to point B. At the end of the day, from A to Z. If you go in there, the mindset say, well, hey, I just want to last 10 years so I can retire. But then make that your goal. Yeah, you're gonna have to deal with some stuff along the way because that's how life works. That's the cycle. You're gonna have to go through trials and tribulations. Um, Sometimes either at your work or either at home or just in general. It's just that. As long as you know that goal that you're trying to go to, then it'll work itself out. So now some days I have my phone on with listeners stuff, and I could hear everybody talking about nonsense, and they'd be like, "You're not talking to me." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm talking, but I'm just not engaged into what you're talking about. I'm listening to something, more.
Yeah.
I'm trying to feed my soul. You know what I'm saying?"
That part.
So, with that being said, if we planting seeds, then just like this water, we have to water it to make it grow and to it be nourishing. I try to be a lesson. I try to use my lessons as a learning curve. I don't care how old we get. You're never too old to stop learning.
Yeah, agreed.
And people say, "Well, oh, y'all too old." And we got two older guys on our job. They go, "Oh, they too old. They need to retire." But you don't know the circumstances. One of them that just got in the wreck in the BMW. Now he's suspended out of the program. He's a good guy. Things happen. Say that why some people might not retire. You don't know the reason why they continue to still work. My end game is not to. I want to retire in 7, 8 years. That's my goal, to retire. Because in the meantime, between time, I want to continue to do projects to build a solid foundation to where I can navigate out of that.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The key to everything is navigation. Where you go with it, as long as you don't go down a dark road and you have to bring yourself out of it. But if you navigate to the sand, and you know this as well as I do, you deal with public every day. I used to be in a restaurant business. I used to be a general manager, assistant manager thing, and I loved it. And when you was talking how to be a general manager, assistant manager in a restaurant where I could just meet people all the time, like I used to do, and just have conversation. I used to have so much people coming back to the restaurant just to talk to me. It used to be. I mean, I'm telling you, I missed that part. Congrats, I'm out talking to people or saying people. Period. It don't matter if you're black, white, whatever. Different aspects of life, or how your mind thinks of certain things.
Yeah.
Not being judgmental, because today we think a certain way. We get judgment real quick. Are there, if you could take a year of your life to rewind, what moment in that time would you rewind it to?
That's a lot. That's deep. Right now, I would probably go back to 2000, the end of 2018. That was the year that I left my ex-husband.
Okay.
It didn't even process in my head until this past year that I've never been single. Like, I got married when I was 17. I didn't get divorced until ish, so like everything, dating, my children had all been encompassed in that one marriage for 20 years, so whenever I got out of that marriage, everything in life was different. My children were no longer just in my house all the time. You know, I didn't wake up and go to sleep to them, which was honestly the biggest. When you go through death, like
Yeah.
you feel like you have a hole in your heart.
Mhm.
Well, for a mother, I don't know about all mothers or for guys, for dads, but like just like gone. Like my kids weren't there every day, so I went into this downward spiral of trying to fill my life, trying to make myself happy,
Yeah.
and I couldn't do it because everything that I had, my happiness was gone now. You know,
Mhm.
so I'd go back to that year because I would definitely. I'd go back with a lot more wisdom now, but I would go back and and not lose it, like because it wasn't just that in the first place ever in my whole life.
Wow.
So it was like I'm talking about the biggest depression I've probably ever been. Children, you know, been relocating, and
Mhm.
like I lost my job, like everything went downhill. So I would go back to
Um,
that year.
Trust me, I've been there. I know exactly what you're talking about, and it just a lot of people could lose things, lose certain aspects of life, and won't know how to overcome. Is perseverance. You know, you didn't let it took you down a road that you've probably down, but you was able to navigate your way back up.
Yeah.
You know, and kind of like kept yourself a little better. That's the most important thing that I look at is that if you allow yourself to continue to slip and fall and keep falling, and then you'd be like, well, oh, I'm sure you have it's not for me. And you be like, you gotta you gotta believe in yourself. That's the most important thing is believing in yourself and knowing that you know if you feel like you can't overcome or you just be one of the people that don't care, be like, I don't care, it's what it is. Then you already know where your life is going anyway because you just had that don't care attitude and just like, well, you know what, it's what it is. And you shouldn't be that way. Everybody should care. Everybody should mind and do the things that they are needing to do and to understand where you're going in life.
Yeah.
So now this is the part of the show that we're gonna close down to. We have a few minutes. They probably didn't hear from us or what they can expect in coming weeks, you know, for every show.
Well, I don't know about you, but it's always been uh, I don't know, I guess maybe a dream of mine to be able to change people's lives. And I say that because like I can think back to even as a teenager when I was like one of my biggest, and I would just tell her when like even through tears, I'd be like, no, even if I can change one person's life with my story later, I'm gonna keep going. You know, so I think that's for me, that's what I envision. Definitely being able to reach people or help people out of some tough times with these seeds
Mm-hmm.
of life. Like, hey, this is what you know. Like, I hope to be just an inspiration through this for me.
I think um, I've been told so many times that I could be a good speaker. I'm very intelligent. Sometimes I downplay a lot of stuff because I don't want to seem like I'm so smart. You know how people just get, oh, you think you know everything,
Mhm.
and I don't want to be. That's who I am, and I think for years, times in my life, I haven't really truly embraced. Might not really embraced it
Yeah.
the way I want to into sports because something I talk videos, I do have my other shows, and it opened up a way for me to talk to other people outside, you know, that watch that started doing this stuff, the sports. It wasn't easy for me, but I did it. And people will comment on my posts and say, "Hey, try this. You know, your lighting looks a little." It's part of my vocabulary. So
Yeah.
I can't help it. And then people got used to it, and they used to give me good critique. Some gave me bad, and I get some people like, "Oh, you don't know what you talk about," or whatever.
Mhm.
But it just comes with the territory.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think doing this is a whole new perspective of us that's going to be watching this, you know, watching us on a weekly basis. Is that, you know, we want to give as much seeds of life that we can to everyone that's out there. Um, this is our very first episode, and we definitely got more to come. Like I said in the beginning, but just know that Gabby and myself will be very authentic, um, very passionate. You can all be in the description as well. Feel free to hit us up. But we not just here for ourselves. We're definitely here for you. So if you like the first, catch us every week. Probably on Sundays. You know, depends on our scheduling because we both are hard workers, so we got to be out there in the public.
Yep.
But until then, Caesar Life on YouTube, coming to you also on TikTok. Yes. God bless and be safe.